Ciao jewelry makers, I'm Joey Balistreri, and I have received fairly early in the month my bargain bead box for January 2024. And I am going to do a super quick unboxing because I sort of took a poll with all of you, and that's what everybody loved, is to have an overview and jump right into a project. So as I was unboxing, I have already designed 2 projects at least with this box, but I did want to say a couple of things about it. It's very clever this month. It's called A Galaxy of Gems, and what they have done is done some gemstone beads. And when I first opened it, I thought, this is not cohesive. Nothing really goes together. But then when you start looking into it, it's really clever what they did. Each one of the gemstones that they have chosen represents a planet. So like the carnelian is a representation of Mars, and the striped agate beads represent Jupiter, and so on. It's really clever, and I really like it. And I just have to say, there are some gemstones that I just don't like, and I find from my decorating years with clients that gemstones are like paintings. When I would take a client to an art gallery, what they would purchase and hang in their home that spoke to them and their eye rested on something that made them happy might not have done a thing for me. And so this is one that I have just never loved. It's lapis and chrysocolla. I love lapis by itself. So anyway, there is a plethora of gemstones in this box. This one is really lovely. The larvacite, it's just a beautiful marbleized gray stone, and there's even a little flash in that one. So there were a couple of notes in the box that I'll just point out before I show you what my favorites were. This bead here is tiger skin jasper, and it's supposed to represent the planet Saturn. And we got these fabulous brass, they're gold-plated brass bead frames in the box. They are so cool. I really love them. It's one of my favorite things, and I am going to order more of these when the box extras become available on the website. But there's a note on our insert that says these were meant to be the rings around Saturn and fit very tightly over this 8mm bead. But because this is a gemstone, it doesn't fit on every bead. You have to sort through. I'm not going to use mine like that. I am not going to even use the tiger skin jasper in my project that I'm doing. But I played around with it because I am using this beautiful dyed aqua quartz. I am using this beautiful sodalite, the 8mm. I am using this, in fact, I separated the blue goldstone. It's lab created, and I don't know if the camera is showing. It is blue goldstone. It is almost black. It's such a midnight blue. I'm trying to show you the sparkle. I hope you're seeing what I'm seeing in person, but I love it. So I separated my strand in half because this is going to be my first project, and this is going to be for a bracelet project. And also with that bracelet project, I'm going to be using these fabulous little gold plated brass stars. They are so adorable, and it says on the package that it's a star mix and a 12-piece mix, and the reason for that is there are different sizes. There's some like large, medium, and small, and they are textured on both sides. I mean, they are just gorgeous. That's something else. When the box extras become available, I want more of those. But these are going to go into my bracelet, and we got 2 sets of this fabulous little magnetic charm with magnetic clasp with celestial charms on it, and I just love that. So I'm going to be putting that on my bracelet project. So this is going to be my second project, and I'm going to set that aside. And the first one I'm going to work on is the necklace. I also wanted to share with you these stunning pendants. I don't actually know which one I'm going to use because I love both of them. This one is a 30mm sodalite triangle, and I love it. I would buy another one of these too. And then this one is a gold-plated stainless steel galaxy swirl pendant. I'm not sure which one is going to make it into my necklace. I love both of them. I also adore the chain that came in this box, even though it's not going to be used in my first project. This is a fabulous little stainless steel chain, and the links are textured on both sides, so I just took that out. And we had some spacer beads in 4mm and also some little brass sun links, which are really great. I'm not using those either. I love this box. I don't always see putting all of these gemstones together, and you know, some of it is just because it's not my favorite gemstone. There was one other note in the box. Now, my little 3mm micro faceted gemstones here says labradorite. And when I looked at this, I thought, that does not look like labradorite. And then I thought, well, maybe because it's so small. And then I noticed on the insert that they had typed for us that all of the strands in the boxes mistakenly were labeled labradorite, but some of them are moonstone, and it was just a mistake. And I believe the note says if yours is gray, it's labradorite. If it's white, it's moonstone. And mine actually has gray and white in it, but I think it's moonstone. It's so small, it's a little bit hard, but I love micro-faceted little gemstones. I do quite a few projects, and I have a great idea for this too. So this might even be my third project with this box. So I am going to move all of this off of my work surface and talk to you about what I am going to make with my favorite beads, which I pulled out here to the right: the aqua quartz, the 8mm sodalite, this blue goldstone, and even these little lava stone beads they're 4mm lava stone, and they represent the asteroid belt. They have like a plating on them. They're really cool, and they really do look like asteroids, like little tiny asteroids. This box is really clever. I don't know if those are going to make it into my bead pattern, but they might. I really like what I have picked out here to work with. So let me take all my little labels away, and I'm going to be using this Pro Econoflex from the Softflex company. It's stainless steel. It's a medium 49 strand wire. So the 49 strand works really well with a number 2 crimp tube and the magical crimping pliers, and I'm going to be making use of that. And mine is in a gold color. So I have already cut a fairly long length of it. It's tangled around some beads that I pulled out of my stash. Let me see if I can give you, I know some of you like measurements. I use my mat. 28, about 32 inches I have taken off. And this is a necklace that I have in my head. I've never done before. It's a brand new design for me, and it was kind of a hybrid of some classics, kind of a mix of a Y necklace and a lariat necklace. I'm going to call it a lasso necklace. Now, we did get these 4mm spacer beads in gold, but I'm worried because I want some length to my necklace that I won't have enough. So I pulled from my stash to substitute for those spacer beads some seed beads. So I have this Miyuki 6.0 seed bead, and it's a Duracoat galvanized gold. And then I also took out some 8.0 seed beads in a metallic gold, because my pattern is going to be random, just because if I had enough gemstones to do the entire length, I probably would have gone for that, but it would be a little bit heavy that way. So this may work out for the best. So let me grab some number 2 crimp tubes. There are 3 different crimp tubes that work with the magical crimping pliers. The Softflex company makes a number 2 crimp tube that works fabulously well with them. There is the Beadsmith magical crimps, which I have this little 4-pack here. that works great with the magical crimping plier. I'm going to show you that plier for those of you who don't know what it is. And then the Bead-A-Lon number 2 crimp tubes also work really well with the magical crimping pliers. And I'm going to need that to start off. This is what that tool looks like. But just a side note, you don't have to use this. You can definitely do this with regular crimping pliers. So I am going to start by, let me get some seed beads going here on my mat. I find that I work better, my designs unfold a little bit better when I open up the beads, cut them off the strands, dump out the tubes, and when I can just play with the beads, I just find that I design a lot better and my work goes a lot better. So this part of the necklace, I'm going to try to explain. I'm going to make a lasso. This is why I think I'm going to name this a lasso necklace. I'm going to make a lasso here. So I'm going to string a little random pattern of beads here. And this is going to get crimped right here. And then I will continue stringing. And the idea is at the end of my string, once I've done a bead pattern, to choose one of these pendants. And this will not have a clasp. This will go around the neck and it will go back down through. So I just have to make sure that my loop on my lasso is the right size to accommodate whichever drop I choose to do. So I'm breaking away, I think, from what Bargain Bead Box wanted people to maybe create. My beads are going to be orbiting around me. So I chose the gemstones from this box that I really love the best. And like I said, I'm just going to do a random pattern here. I think I do want to get, I love this bead. Oh my goodness, that's so gorgeous. I'm just going to get enough beads going to make my little lasso. And before I go any further, let me grab a little clip here so that my beads don't get away from me. So let me work on my lasso loop. I'll take a little pause here and then I'll show you how I'm going to do the first crimp on this necklace. So I'm really happy with my little random pattern here. And now I have strung on one of those sodalite beads. I went through them and found one that fit inside the bead frame. So the string just goes through the bead hole and the bead frame hole. And I love the way that spins on the beading wire. If you're a fidgeter, that is really a fun piece of jewelry. So I'm going to bring that down, and here's where I'm going to make my lasso. I'm going to take the other end and hopefully it will fit through the bead frame and the bead cap, and yes, it fits perfect. So I'm just going to pull my lasso down, and that's what I have. And as I said, one of these drops is going to be at the other end of the necklace. I haven't decided which, so my size of my loop here will accommodate whichever one I settle on when I get to the end of the design. And now I just want to take one of those number 2 crimp tubes and feed it onto the other end. I want to also get my shorter tail in there and make sure my lasso is the way that I want it before I crimp down. And I'm going to use the magical crimping plier here, but you can definitely use a regular crimping plier if you want to. Just going to squeeze. Hopefully I made my little ravioli. Can you see the 4 little corners? Oh, it's still sliding a bit. I always use these number 2 crimp tubes on the 49 strand wire, and I never have a problem, but it's not working today. So I'm going to go again, and I cut a little dummy wire, which I thought would be a good thing to share with you in case you ever run into this problem. And so it seems to me what I think the problem is that there's not there's too much space in my crimp tube. So a dummy wire is just a little tiny scrap of wire, and I'm going to insert that into the tube as well, and right up into the bead. And that third little dummy wire, I can just trim it away after it's crimped down, but it just takes up some extra space. And so when I crimp down, it's allowing that crimp tube to form into a bead because there's no hollow space inside. So let me see if this is going to work. Yes, that time I got it. So I got my 4 little ravioli corners. It just needed a dummy wire. So if you ever run into that with the magical crimper, the problem could be that you have too much space left over inside the tube and you need another wire. And then I'm just going to, I put it in the same direction, get 90 degrees and crimp down again, and then just keep going around, forming that little bead. We want a good crimp on this because this little lasso, this loop, will need to be strong because you'll be pulling the end of the necklace through it on and off constantly. Let's see if we got a good one. Give it a little tug. Yes, it's great. So now I have that perfect little bead there, and I can trim away. Actually, before I trim, let me just see if I can use one of these maybe to hide some of those tails. Those seed beads have a nice large hole. Yes, that looks great. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same sort of little random pattern that I did in my lasso loop. I'm getting it. Okay, great. So I'm just going to do my little random pattern down the length of this lasso necklace, and I want to incorporate those beautiful pale blue agate beads. I want to mix in these beautiful galaxy beads and the sodalite beads. I absolutely love sodalite, and I think this is a fabulously denim friendly outfit. So I'm going to continue in this way all the way down the length, just playing with these beads and doing a little random pattern as I go down the length of my necklace, and I'll pause and I'll be right back with you. I have finished stringing the entire length of my lasso necklace, and I have to say it just got prettier and prettier as I got to the end, and it is a completely random pattern. I used every single one of the bead frames, but not every bead has a bead frame. The gold beads that are spacers, I varied the sizes and the amounts, and it is a totally random pattern. It does alternate the agate bead and the sodalite bead and the little asteroid beads. And yeah, I can't wait for this to be orbiting around my neck. That's a very bad joke. But yeah, I'm at the end, and I did plan it out so that at the end of my non-pattern, if you will, that I got a little bit heavier with beads and they weren't as spaced out, and I did want to finish my design with the last bead frame and one of the darkest sodalite beads in the mix. And so I have out here a jump ring, another number 2 crimp tube, and another little scrap piece of wire that will be my dummy wire, and I really am in love with this little sodalite triangle. I just love it. I'm going to order another one if they become available on the website. And so I think that's the winner for the pendant that drops on my lasso necklace. So this is a simple finish, just like we crimped on the other end. I'm going to put a crimp tube down, and I'm going to make a little loop and get that loop. As we saw on the other end, it feeds nicely back through the bead and the bead frame, and you can see it's coming out there. Let me get some pliers to help me. It's coming out there. And so, you know, have a look at your loop and make it the size that you want. My stringing material is in a really pretty gold, and so I don't, you know, have to worry about that so much, but I do care about the size of the loop. I am going to do a jump ring instead of stringing my pendant right onto this loop before I crimp, just in case I ever change my mind. I do that sometimes where I change my mind about a pendant or something. So with a jump ring, I won't have to restring the whole piece. And then I've got my loop the way that I like it, and I want to get that little dummy wire in there. So there's 3 wires going through that little number 2 tube. And so that way it's taking up the space so I can get a nice round gold bead. So if you'll notice, I do not have my lasso necklace in a straight line, and I have started at this end. I made sure that my tails are inside, and I don't have any gaps in my beads, but we do want this to be able to loop around like a lariat necklace. So I'm just making sure that there's no gaps and that everything is flexible but properly spaced before I crimp. So let me scoot those down just a tiny bit and get my magical crimping plier, and I'm just going to fit that tube right in the well and squeeze it. And I pinched all 4 corners, and now I just turn it in the opposite direction and fit it. Before you squeeze down, make sure it is, I find I have to go slowly with this tool so that I have fit it in the opposite, and it's not, I feel that it's not in the well properly. Now it is. And then just squeeze down and then just go all around. And if you've seen any of my recent videos where I've used this tool, you know that if you're not happy with this bead, if it didn't crimp the way you want it to, or it's too small because it is a very tiny little gold bead, you can easily take a crimp cover like you would use on a normal folded crimp and put it right on top of this if you need to. So I got this perfect little gold bead, and I give it a little tug, and it seems great to me. So I'm just going to trim away those excess wires just as close as I can get them. My dummy wire is crimped and now inside. And this is just ready for the beautiful pendant on the end. So let me get my jump ring. I made these out of 20 gauge wire. I like that it has the anti-tarnish coating on that. I use Bead-A-Lon wire, and I also use the Art Bead stock, their brand wire that's got an anti-tarnish coating, and I like to make my own jump rings. So, oh my gosh, I want another one of these pendants. It's so beautiful. And my lasso necklace is done. So how it is worn, and I'll get some pictures up at the end, but how it is worn is this goes around your neck, and you just loop this end through the lasso. So you can wear this part as a choker, or you can loosen it and wear it a bit longer. You could loop it back twice if you want to do like scarf tie techniques with it. You know, you can really have fun. It's kind of a cross between a choker, a lariat necklace, and a Y necklace. So I am in love with this design. It's super easy. It was really fast. I had a great time stringing the pattern, and you don't need a clasp, and it's really versatile. So I'm going to move on to my second project. It's going to be the bracelet that I told you about, and it's going to be a very repetitive I love this pendant. I left it on my mat. I love it. I'm still going to use that. But I have my little spool of 20 gauge wire here, and I have those beautiful lab created gold stone beads. I really hope the camera is showing you the sparkle in these beads. Some of them sparkle a little bit more than others, but it depends on the way they are in the light. I just think they are beautiful. And even though it's a really midnight blue, they look black to me, and I think it's going to be a really elegant bracelet. And then I am going to use this little magnetic clasp that already has the celestial charms attached to each end. And I will need to make some jump rings. And I think I'm going to end up using most, if not all, of these beautiful 24 karat gold plated brass star links. So I want more of those too. So the first thing I want to do is make some jump rings, and I'm going to do a little bit larger jump ring. I just have a little scrap of that 20 gauge wire, and I am just going to make, there's 12 of those little stars, and I need 12 jump rings if I use all of them. That's the last part of the bracelet, so we'll see how it goes. See how it looks when I get to the end. I see I'm going to need another piece of wire. But I love to make my own jump rings. I love that I'm going to use this same wire to make the links on the bracelet. So I love that everything matches. I love the anti-tarnish coating. And I also love that when I'm using a magnetic clasp on this, that the magnet doesn't grab onto the links of this wire. So I definitely am going to have to do another length of jump rings. And now for this bracelet, I have decided to do a rosary link or like a beaded chain. So I'm going to do one or two of these together with you, and then I'll go off camera and just finish the length of my bracelet. I am going to use my one-step looper for this. I'm going to use the 1.5 millimeter one just because of the size of these beads. I do want it to look like a chain, so I'm just going to start by making my first loop, which when there's no bead on there is really easy and fast. Get that wire warm and straight, and I got a perfect loop. I don't really need to do anything to it. And then I'm just going to add one of these beads, and I am going to alternate. This one was down. I'm going to do this one up. A little bit of a long piece of wire, and just make sure that bead is not in the jaw of the plier. Pull that bead down, and I am going to sit and make a bunch of these little individual links for this bracelet. In my mind, this bracelet is going to be classic elegance, just this sparkle, this little gemstone against my skin, and some beautiful little charms that are celestial. So that is my plan for this. So I'm going to sit and get my length that I need of this, and I will come back and we can connect it together and put the charms on, and I'll show you the finished product. It's going to be a really simple, easy, classic design, but you know, those things are sometimes the best. So I'll continue with this, and I'll be right back with you. I am so sorry, you guys. I forgot to plug in my microphone when I paused to finish the restringing on the necklace, so I'm going to try to adjust that when I edit. But I also had to pause and make some really tiny jump rings. I have this little mandrel set that is really made for making jump rings. I use it for ear cuffs and for other things, and I can link it below if you're interested, but it's a really cool little small and larger stepped down mandrel set for when you have to do your own thing. And so the reason I'm doing these really tiny jump rings is, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but on the clasp here, the jump rings that came with it, they are grabbing the magnet, and it's just a detail, but it makes me crazy. So I decided to replace those with the ones from the wire that I'm using for everything else, because I guess it's the coating on this, but it doesn't grab the magnets. So I'm going to just change out those 2 jump rings that are already on that magnetic clasp. So I just paused to do that, and I made a few extras, and I finished the length of my bracelet. I just have one more to add, and I am just loving it. So those are the larger jump rings that we made, and I just sat and did a whole bunch of these components and connected them. And I just saved the last one to do with you. It's super easy, but we'll do it together. So I'm just going to open one of those jump rings that we made and connect it to the little simple loop, and then connect my last piece and close it really well. And I just love that I have made my own chain. This is so beautiful and so elegant. And now I stopped and made some smaller jump rings, like 4mm jump rings, and I have a dozen of them, because I think that, let me go ahead and change out these jump rings. I think that I am going to use every single one of the little star charms, but it is so incredible that we got 2 of these beautiful little magnetic clasps in our box this month. It makes it so easy to put things on. Look at that. It's just gorgeous. And now it just needs some stars. So I'm going to set aside all my extra jump rings, and even these, I don't know where those are going to go yet. We will see. Let's start in the middle with one of the bigger stars, and I'm just going to randomly add these like a little star charm bracelet. I love them. I love how they are diamond cut, so they really twinkle like a real star. I have completed my beautiful little celestial star charm bracelet, and what I did is I used all 12 of the charms that came in the box, and so I alternated my pattern. I counted out my rings, so I have 2 stars. Let me hold it up. I have 2 stars on this ring, 1 on this ring, 2 on this ring, 1 on this ring, and so on. And then I had 1 empty ring at the end, so that is where I attached the little moon charm. And I decided to take this star off, and the jump rings, I will save those with the other clasp, put them back in that bag. And so my first two projects with this box are done. I love my little bracelet. I love all the stars being just moving, dangling around my wrist, and then the little moon being at the end of the line of all the stars. Oh my goodness, I think it can see me just grabbing for this bracelet all the time. And then this beautiful lasso necklace, I can't wait to wear this. This is going to be so gorgeous, even with like a collared shirt, to have this part up near your neck and have this hanging down over the buttons. I am just in love with both of these designs, and I really hope that it inspired you to do something special and unique with your bargain bead box this month. And don't forget that even if you don't subscribe to that box, you can take elements of this design or duplicate this design with beads from your own stash. This one as well. They're very classic, and both of these are totally beginner friendly. So I thank you so much for watching today. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. It really helps my work. It tells YouTube that people are liking what my content is, and so that would be really great if you guys would do that. I will see you in the next video. Ciao, jewelry makers.